Hello and welcome to the Horror Hangout, a podcast where people talk about the best and worst horror movies of all time. And sometimes we get to talk to some wonderful people working both in front of and behind the camera for new and exciting horror movies. Very privileged today to be joined by Crispin Glover. Crispin, very nice to meet you. How are you?
I'm well. I'm well. How are you doing?
I am very well, thank you. Very well indeed. Especially well in the fact that we get to talk a little bit about your latest movie, The Blind Bargain. What an exciting movie. So for those not in the know, let me give you a little bit of a premise here. So in 1922, after an extended battle with the censors over its doctors creating artificial life and attempting to play God subject matter, the original copy of a silent horror, Blind Bargain, became a lost film when the owners, MGM at the time, lost the original negative. So, in this project, this 2025 reimagining of this film, you're restoring lost media. What attracted you to this kind of project?
Well, yeah, I just I wouldn't I wouldn't say we're restoring a 100 plus year old film. Sadly, 90% of all silent films are lost. Uh, and I don't think that meant they just accidentally lost them. I think I believe I've heard what happened is that because there wasn't really a concept of resale at the time, like home video or streaming or digital media, uh, it meant that the value of the silver content of the physical negative or print was of a greater value to melt the film down and just get the silver out of it. So that's a part of the reason that 90, amongst other things, that's part of the reason 90% of all silent films are gone. Uh, Restoration, if they find the negative, great. Let's I love that's real time travel is to look at these things that were made over 100 years ago now and see how people looked and talked starting in 1928, but I find the silent films and the pre-codes to be some of my favorite genre of well, it's not a genre, era of filmmaking. Uh, but yeah, I was aware of that element. One of the attractions to me was that it was also going to be shot on film. Many movies now, of course, are shot digitally, and I'm not against digital. Digital is a fantastic thing. But if one can shoot on film, that's still so beautiful.
You can still really
Uh,
feel it, can't you?
you can see it and feel it. Yes, it's the pixels are of digital are different quality and shape than the grain pattern, which is really an alchemical reaction to light, and crystals are made onto the substance. So there's this constant dance of the crystals. This is not an electronic grid that we see in digital. There's something so beautiful about every single framed photograph, 24 frames per second in sound film, that is it's unmatched in digital. But I'm also a filmmaker. I should mention that, and I've always shot my own films on film. My first two films, What Is It? And It Is Fine, Everything Is Fine, I began touring with in 2005. I toured straight for 15 years from 2005 to 2020. I toured in the US, Canada, New Zealand, Australia, UK, Europe, Japan, uh, to places mostly that were 35 millimeter venues. There's less and less venues exhibiting 35 millimeter prints. There still are, but more and more DCP, which is the digital standard. And not that this is bad. I'm not anti this, but there is something about
There's something
uh,
magical about it, right?
well, there's two levels of it. There's shooting on film. Now I've just shot it. I'm about to start touring again with a new film that I shot. You can shoot on film. I shot my first two films on 16 millimeters, regular 16, then blew that film negative, blew that or had a digital intermediate, then blew that up to 35 millimeter prints. You can also uh, digitally project a film negative, and you still have a grain pattern. But there's an extra grain pattern added atop of that when it's a 35 millimeter print of the film. But as long as you've even shot on film, you're going to have a film experience. You're essentially duplicating, cloning the digital negative, which is from the film print. So that has the grain pattern in it. But I'm going to start touring with my new film, which I shot on 35 millimeter negative in October. I'll announce everything on crispinglover.com before this date, but I'll let it be known that I'm going to be, I may have one venue. I'm still in the midst of talking about it before my dates at IFC. I may have a premiere in New York, but I'm going to be at the IFC in Manhattan at October 10th or at least the 14th. And I've been done my shows there since 2007 with starting with my second film, That Is Fine, Everything Is Fine, but I've shown both films there in my live shows. I perform a live show of books, and then I present the film, have a Q&A, and then a book signing. Then I'm going to be at the Aero Theater through the American Cinematheque in Santa Monica, Los Angeles, October 18th and 19th. That will be the first time I played at that venue. I'll be coming back to LA through the American Cinematheque at a yet to be determined date in December at the Egyptian, where I played my films and shows since 2005. And then I'm going to be in Chicago at the Music Box, where I've also been since 2005. I believe we're still determining the dates, but about October 22nd or 23rd, I think, are what we're discussing. All of this will be announced on
Nice.
crispinglover.com. People can sign up for the newsletter if they're interested to see the shows and films. I mention all this because my films are shot on film, like Blind Bargain, which is
Like
shot on,
Blind Bargain. And
and
so
that is part of what my interest was. Also, the screenplay had some very enjoyable aspects to play, and it was being shot on Super 16, which of course will be. I'm not sure what their projection aspect, but I would assume a minimum of a DCP. But you will have the film experience from being shot on Super
you're going to
16.
have an amazing experience if you're coming to see this particular screening of it. So those UK listeners that will be at Fright Fest, where the film is going to be playing on the final day of the festival on Monday, the 25th of August, we're going to be playing to a large crowd in London's Odeon Deluxe there. And I think people are going to have a wild time seeing this movie. I've been fortunate enough to see it myself today. So I know, Crispin, as a filmmaker, you're obviously very passionate about the medium. How did Paul approach you with the story to get involved with this particular retelling of Blind
I was
Bargain?
I was sent the screenplay through my agents
Mhm.
with an offer, and then I had a Zoom meeting with Paul. They sent me a link to some of his filmmaking. He's shot on film previously. I could see that he has a passion for film and a certain kind of genre work, and had a very nice conversation. He's very easy to talk to, and I liked working with him as a director. Very nice man, easy to deal with. And he had a particular, it was, I don't think he wrote the original script. I think it was written by one of the producers I liked all of the producers involved. They're passionate about the genre, and they like silent and this particular film. So I am I do love Lon Chaney's work. His work is really unparalleled. I can't think of anybody other than him who's done the particular kind of physicality changes with his own body on top of the makeup work, and then genuine organic internal work with strong character choices. It's just astounding, really. My favorite performance of his is that I've seen, of course, like Blind Bargain, I'd love to see, but it's gone. Hopefully, maybe somebody will find it someday. That would be
You never know
fantastic.
when they turn up in a warehouse
They
somewhere,
do
right?
turn up these things every once in a while. They every I go to silent film festivals regularly, and they regularly every year are coming up with new movies that they've found. I've seen some beautiful restorations of I go to MoMA a lot. I saw something that was a premiere, similar era, something in the 1920s, over 100 years ago, and they're calling it the premiere. Maybe it had never played in New York, or maybe it did. They probably don't have the records of where it did or didn't play. Who knows? But it was, gosh, it was so beautiful. And it was a period film shot in the period. So it was probably early 1920s. And I think it was supposed to be the late 1800s, so that somebody was riding a penny farthing, the
Hmm.
large wheeled bicycle, and you could tell they knew how to ride it. Like it was a normal thing, kind of, that they were doing, even though it was a period film, and you could just see the way they worked with the bicycle, that it was more normal. I've seen people on YouTube work with a penny farthing, and it's a little different from what I saw the guy who was in this period film. It was a beautiful film. I wish I could remember the name of it right now. I write down all of the movies I've been going to see at MoMA. I see so many, some of them short subjects.
I'm glad to see that even people working in the industry have such a problem with the volume of great films there are to watch that their names are hard to catch up with that we do talking about them where we
I've got
live.
I've got them written down so I can go back and look at things. Because I'm also a filmmaker. There are things I think about that I can use and think, oh wait, what was that? If I go look it up and say, oh, it was done this way, because you can kind of, you know, uh, reverse engineer something, and so it's good to keep records, because you never know when it's going to pop into your mind. What? Oh, that was that beautiful image. What did they do? And then if you look it up, some of them are online, or you can somehow find photos or something and reconstruct that. I like the practical effects of older
And where
film.
you can get that inspiration from for making films all these
Yeah,
years later as well. If we
sure.
may, let's touch on your character from Blind Bargain a little bit. Like, I think a wonderfully complex character. It certainly looks like you had some fun playing the character as well, because
Yeah.
it's a complex role, right? Like, no spoilers here, but not
Well,
entirely good, not entirely evil. How did you approach it?
I didn't think it was I didn't think of it as overly complex. It was clear what the character wanted, and there were multiple wants that come out at different points, and that was a fun. It was an enjoyable part of the script. It wasn't perfectly. It wasn't obvious what was going to happen
Hmm.
necessarily, and what directions things were going to go. So that was there were multiple. Each scene sort of had a different layer to what the character was about, but they were actually they were it was pretty clear what the goals were. Uh, and Paul and I did, there's just a few photos of the original. Lon Chaney played a doctor character in it, which is similar. I'm playing a doctor character in this, and then he played another character, kind of a more of a creature looking
Yeah,
person.
right. Had like an almost
Uh,
they described it as an ape man in one of the synopses I
yeah,
read.
yeah, and who, I'm sure he would have was doing something inventive with it. Hard to know. And that I didn't, I wasn't playing. There was no character of that nature. Um, but the film was made in the 20s. The look he had was contemporary to the era of the Doctor. I think he had a goatee, perhaps a monocle. I'm kind of forgetting at the moment, but this screenplay was set in the story is set in, I believe, 1970 or 71. So those topical aspects, it wouldn't have made sense to copy that.
So you brought this forward. So this film is set in 1970, if I'm not mistaken,
Believe
right?
so, yeah, yeah. So it made more sense to be pertinent to that era, and which is also an interesting era to go to. But it would have not made sense to look like a 1920s person in 1970.
Right. So there's obviously a bringing forward of the role in
Yes.
time and the
Well,
scripting, the way it's setting.
and of course the people that made the screenplay didn't have much to go on either. Although I think the original screenplay was based on a book, which I didn't read, but from what I could tell of the synopsis of the book, it's very different. I don't know how the interpretation, even of the original screenplay, was made from the book. It seemed like a I'm forgetting exactly, but it seemed quite different. But that's interesting in reimaginations of things, and that which inspires good things can happen from it. Of course, things can be not so good as well, but good things can be inspired from multiple places.
Yeah, and I think, and again, we won't give too much away here because people can go and enjoy the film wherever you're seeing it, be it at Fright Fest or internationally when it becomes available at other festivals and in general release around the world. But I think there's a great skill in here of capturing the era that it is set in. I was not around in 1970 myself to see this firsthand, but you can tell there is a modern hand to this filmmaking, but I think it's very skillfully capturing that 1970s era. Lots of those films that were so popular of the time. I think the atmosphere and the design that goes into it captures that feeling very well. But as a genre in its entirety, obviously in your storied movie career, both in front of and behind the camera, you've not been a stranger to horror. One of the actors who we have seen face off with Jason Voorhees himself on screen in the 80s. What's your relationship with horror as a genre, either as an actor or as a an enjoyer of films?
Well, yeah, people have been asking me that a lot. I I don't really pick genres one way or another. Perhaps sometimes genres pick me, so to speak, uh, which I'm fine, which is fine. As as a viewer, well, the era of filmmaking I tend toward really loving to see for whatever reason. I really do tend toward liking to watch silent film in early pre-code.
Hmm.
I find it fascinating just to see things from 100, more than 100 years ago, 100 years ago, or just under 100 years ago. All these people no longer alive. It's really looking at the past in a fascinating way, even if the film isn't that well made necessarily. There's just something interesting about seeing how people approach things very, and how the technical aspects work. Although there are some of my favorite films for real are silent films. I've had some of the best cinematic experiences in a cinema watching silent films. There's something about having no words, that it's a purely visual experience that gets right into the nervous system, that is just astounding.
And seeing the movement that people do, the when you aren't able to articulate your meaning with words, looking at how people express themselves in those silent movies, and similar to yourself, one of the movies that we've been lucky enough to catch a screening over here in Scotland where I live, there was a screening of Vampire at its, I believe,
I love that
99th
film.
anniversary.
I just,
So,
I
so
just,
well put
I just
together.
watched that the other week. Actually, I have a copy, a DVD. I've never, no, I have seen that projected. Didn't I? I'm pretty sure I saw that projected in the 80s, probably there is a beautiful venue, no longer a cinema now. Sadly, it's a flea market. It was called the Fox Venice on Venice Boulevard. I'm pretty sure. I know I saw Metropolis screened there. I may have seen Vampire, but may not. Maybe I've only seen it digitally. Now I'm forgetting. Love that film though. Very that what I was about to say. You're asking about genre. What I really am a watcher. My favorite really is surrealism,
Hmm.
which isn't really a popular genre, but that I mean, great filmmakers like Kubrick use aspects of surrealism within his work. But of course, Luis Buñuel was a genuine surrealist with a capital S, being a political movement that was going on in the 20s and 30s, which also ended up having large art aspects. But he goes into the political aspects, which I actually, in his book, his autobiography, My Last Sigh, which I've really come to deeply understand. It's difficult and confusing. But Vampire I watched recently, and that one has surreal aspects to it. It's
Hmm.
a very
Very
moody.
dreamlike in parts, right?
Yeah. It's more about the mood. That you can see aspects of the Dracula story. There's a Mina Harker kind of character. There's not really a Dracula character in it, but that then the main characters he gets buried alive and he's being pulled in a coffin where he has a glass viewpoint. It's very I can't remember the film, which is sort of like Dr. Caligari, where I can't remember what happens if I watch it a number of years later, because it doesn't follow in a way that you can remember it really. I even right now, if you ask me how it ends, I'm forgetting, and that's the same as Dr. Caligari. I like that. I'll watch those movies over and over again because I can get lost in the interpretive experience. That's part of why surrealism is ultimately my favorite. But very good filmmakers like someone like Stanley Kubrick or many of the best filmmakers will utilize aspects of it so that it's interpretive uh, within their filmmaking. Now, I've done so many interviews in a row. I am forgetting. Did I mention my own filmmaking and that I'm going to be touring?
You did, and actually, if Linda's able to send us, obviously we can pull your website, but we will add that to the show notes as well, so
Great,
people
great. Yeah, if
can
you can
check those out.
put a link to crispinglover.com where people can sign up for the newsletter. My own filmmaking has have surreal aspects to them.
I think having a
Uh,
conversation about this as well, I think it's now really set us up to be looking forward to seeing what the shows that you're touring. Did you mention are you taking this internationally? Are you mostly US based
I
for this tour?
will. I will. I'm opening them in New York, Los Angeles, and Chicago. But I toured for 15 years with my first two films, from 2005 to 2020 when the pandemic happened, and then I took the natural pause and realized it's best to wait until I'm ready with the new film. This film was shot on 35 millimeter negative. My other two films were shot on 16 millimeter negative, film negative, then blown up through a digital intermediate to 35 millimeter prints. But I toured in the US, Canada, the UK, Europe, Japan, New Zealand, Australia, and I'd very much like to go back to everywhere I went
Yeah.
before and more.
Give those passports a workout, eh? And it's so nice to see these films touring around and people being able to come and see them, particularly when you do have the advantage of one of my favorite things about an event like Fright Fest are the Q&A sessions that we have afterwards, the opportunity for us to put those questions to those filmmakers, because I really think you can come away with a much greater understanding of the mindset and, some of the struggles or, just the practical things people did to bring an
Absolutely.
idea to the screen that we just watch or are about to watch, depending on what side of the film the Q&A goes.
Yeah,
Um,
if I enjoy a filmmaker, I love going to see them talk. I'm much more selective about what films I'll go and actually see now. But that's a part of my show. I perform a live show of books that I dramatically narrate that are illustrated. I present the film, have a Q&A, and then a book signing. So it's an
oh.
active interrelationship with the audience.
Amazing. Well, we'll get those dates up there. When we as we close out on Blind Bargain though, so people are going to be seeing it at the Monday the 25th at Fright Fest and other places around the world as well. For you as one of the stars of the movie, when an audience sit down together to watch it in the cinema, is there anything that you hope they, apart from obviously having a good time watching a movie, is there anything you would hope they would take away from the film when they watch it?
Well, I have not seen the film myself. I respect they've invited me to a number of physical screenings, which I agree with. It's shot on film. I'd like to go see the film projected. That's a big difference. I'd rather not watch it alone on my computer. I don't enjoy doing that. I sort of have a policy now of I'll only go see a movie if I'm able to be at a premiere as screening. So I would like to see it. I've been working a lot happily as an actor in the last 9 months. Like every 3 months I've been working on a film, playing like a lead, one of the lead characters. So it's I've been busy, and I've been out of town every time they've had a screening of the film. I'm shooting right now. I'm in a hotel room in Illinois, and so I want to see the film. If they bought me out, and I don't know what my schedule is to the festival, I'd go. But when is it? When is it? You said the
So we are running, it'll be the last week, well, the last but one weekends in August. So Fright Fest is Thursday the
I'll
21st
still
to
be
Monday the 25th.
I'll still be shooting here in Illinois at that point. So
Oh,
I
that's a
but
shame. We'll be
but
sad to miss you. If you manage to escape
yeah,
early, Crispin, we'll save you a seat.
that sounds good. I'd love to. I like going to festivals for that particular purpose. If there's a film premiere or my own film or a film I'm in, I like to attend these things.
Well,
But
if you're stuck for this year, and you know we all have to work around when the bosses say we have to work, I know. But
yeah,
if you're unable to make this year, if you ever get a chance to make a future year, I'm speaking on behalf of the entire UK now.
good.
It's a really good time that you'll have. Genre audiences are some of my favorites to hang out with. I expect the film will get a very warm welcome from the Fright Fest crowd. I also expect because they're so passionate about genre, the retelling of a film that was lost. I think people in genre cinema really do buy into the lore and the background of these movies, and I think there'll be a great hunger for that. And I think people will love the story of its creation as much as they enjoy the film itself. So you'd get a very warm welcome, I'm sure, if you're free another year to come and join.
Well, yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing reaction of what people make of it. I think people will. I'm looking forward to seeing it myself. I have a feeling people will find something interesting about it.
Yeah, I can speak to having I managed to watch it earlier today, and I think it is a really, really interesting movie. Lots of stuff to enjoy about it, the craft behind it, the performances in it, seeing what other films the audience has reacted to strongly. I suspect they're going to enjoy it.
Very good. I'm very glad to hear it.
Amazing. Well, Crispin, I
Well,
don't want to keep you too long. I want to make sure you've got a chance to get out of that hotel room when you've been doing so many interviews today. So thank you so much for spending a little time with me while I am dishing out thanks. I will thank everyone who has listened. I will thank our friends Taj Easton for our theme music. I will thank the folks over at Rusty Corral and at Acast for hosting us. I'll thank all of you for listening. Crispin, we'll hope to see you in London very soon. Enjoy the
very
rest
good.
of the interviews.
Yes,
Goodbye for now.
I'll plan to come with my own shows for sure. So people can find crispinglover.com, sign up for the newsletter, and I'll make sure to go out there again.
We'll see you over there. If you're coming over, Crispin, it might even tempt me down south to London.
Oh, please, please. I'll put you on the guest list. Just email me publicity at crispinglover.com.
There you go. We've got that recorded, everybody. Thank you so much. Thank you
All
very
right.
much, Crispin.